Hello, pro cheerleaders, aspiring pros, imperfect cheerleaders, former pro cheerleaders. My name is Jasmine Neely, and I am the podcast host for the Imperfect Cheerleader. And today we're really going to talk about how you know if you're doing the most during your audition. Now, there is such thing as doing the most really in like interviews, but also in auditions. And I want you to be prepared going into this audition season to know if you are doing any of these three things. Okay. So I know you might be eager to audition. You want to do everything in your power to control the outcome of the audition, right? You want to be noticed. You want to stand out. And you want them to know that you are a good person and that you're really curious about this team and you really, really want it. You can do all those things, but in moderation. And I'm going to talk about these three ways that you might be getting a little bit annoying or you are not really putting yourself up to be on this when you think you might be. Okay. So, number one. You might be doing the most if you are sending lengthy emails. So, if you send a long, long email to a coach, a director, or some staff, chances are they probably won't read it. Every now and then they might read it, but if it's the coach, if it's the director of the team, they're going to be really busy and they get a ton of emails and comms going out, communications, I say comms for short, but communications going out, and they likely don't have the time to read long emails or long text. So I would say, first of all, not super lengthy emails. So try to pare what you need to ask about down. But then also that what comes with that is you don't want to send emails frequently back to back to back. If you can get everything in one email succinctly and short and sweet or bulleted, I think that can go a long way. A bullet can help the person who's reading on the other side, their brain naturally process what it is that's in this email step by step. And I think that's good for our brains. So, if something does require a long explanation, then opt to break it down like into those small pieces. Like I said, opt to talk in person when you might see this person or you might see the staff. Or hey, in the email, you can also say, I have a situation going on that would be better if I presented it to you over the phone. That way, you're not putting the entire message in the email, but you are also saying, hey, I need to speak on the phone about this. It's a serious matter, and it would be best if I didn't, send everything in this long email because I don't want to confuse you or something like that. Right? So this is just a trick that people use in everyday life, in corporate, and any job really. So you want to be able to say that, hey, I need to talk to you over the phone on this, and maybe even put like, can I get 15 minutes of your time to speak to you about the situation? Now, with that said, make sure the situation is worth it. Don't waste their time. If you're going to get somebody on the phone from the team, it's not to ask a question that they don't have the time to answer. If you're going to get them on the phone, it has to be some type of situation, like a scheduling conflict or something that requires a phone conversation. So put the onus on them to decide how they want to receive the information by saying, hey, this might be better in a call, or I'm happy to send a voice note or meet you in person to talk about it. Okay. So That is number one. And your question can most likely, if it's a small question, it can most likely be answered on the website in the FAQ section or by asking somebody on the team, going to their social media accounts to see if the information is there. So at the end of the day, you don't want to waste the director or the coach's time. You want to be able to do your research on your own if it's a simple question. And if it needs more than just a simple email or a text or something. I don't know if you'll have the person's phone number, but if it requires more than that, then you should suggest that. But put the onus on them because they are running around trying to get ready for auditions. They have a lot going on, so you just want to be respectful of that. And you can even say that if you are sending an email. I want to be respectful of your time. Please let me know what works best for you to communicate what's going on. Communication is key, so just keep that in mind. Just don't send super long emails. Number two, do not hijack the questions during auditions. Okay. So there's always some people that will ask a question after question after question. Uh, and if the instructor asks, hey, are there any questions? And you raise your hand every single time just to be noticed or just to have your voice heard. And you just want to ask a question for the sake of asking a question, that's not good. You don't want to be that person because it can make you seem desperate and it also makes you not seem like you pay attention to details. So, my advice to you would be to be a cool girl and kind of ask the person to your side if they know the answer to that question. Because likely they do. Or there's like likely girls that are around you that are on the team who know how to best answer the question, or they know the choreographer's style and they kind of have a better idea. Now, with that said, it's not a bad idea to raise your hand and ask a genuine question, but you better make sure that they didn't already go over that answer. That's because that's not going to look good. Sometimes it's hard to hear, I understand that. So just use your best judgment on asking those questions and just make sure that they haven't gone over it already or the instructor already said something about it. Okay, so just don't ask questions after questions after questions. It's not going to be a good look for you. I promise. There's always somebody that does it, and then everybody around them is like, "Oh my gosh, this girl's asking another question. Like, does she pay attention to anything?" So don't do that. You're doing the most. Okay. Number three, do not try to be in the instructor's face all the time. Okay. So you want to let your dance ability shine. You're going to be in the instructor's face during the interview when that comes. You'll also be able to be in their, I don't want to say be in their face, but have face-to-face interactions with them at prep classes. And you'll be able to show more of who you are, more of your personality in those situations. So give them their space. To point one, a lot of them are running around. Um, because the last thing you want them to say is, "Oh, not her again." Like you just don't want to be, you know how annoying it is when somebody's all up in your face and they're not really saying anything, they're just wasting your time. That's how that is. So don't feel like you have to be best friends with the coach or you have to have this super tight-knit relationship with them yet. That's not necessary. Take a step back, let your dance ability shine, and let them decide ultimately who are through nonverbal communication. So at the end of the day, it takes a lot of self-awareness to know if you truly are doing the most, if you're being annoying. So I want you to take a step back and reflect on these three and if you are doing any of these things. Now, with all of that said, You should absolutely do the most during your dance audition. You go 100% and do not hold back. Become a different person if you have to when you dance, because a lot of teams are looking for you to entertain them, are looking for you to have that showmanship quality that they look for. Okay. So do the most during your dance audition. That's probably the, and during the prep classes. That's probably one of the best ways for you to stand out because it is a dance audition. The dance portion is a huge aspect of getting the job. So you want to give it your all. There's no really, there are some rules. Now you want to be clean. You want to have the right arm placements that the instructor did go over. You don't want to make sure you're not missing those cleans because that could affect your score. You don't want to go, and I have a podcast about this, about the the juxtaposition of going really hard on energy, but also being clean. If you have too much of one, it's not gonna give you the best performance quality. You have to have somewhere to meet in the middle when it comes to energy and cleanliness. Okay, so that takes a lot of practice and it takes a lot of focus when you are learning for the first time. They're not telling you to put your hand here and to have your fingers closed for nothing. They're telling you that for a reason, and you should definitely practice filming yourself doing the dance, seeing if you're hitting all the cleans, and paying attention because that, whatever that move is, if you're not there, but the rest of the team is, that's noticeable. And yet at the end of the day, you're on a team and you want to show that you can combine your own style with the team style. And the best way to do that is to pay attention to cleans, right? Okay. So I do want you to enjoy the audition process and I want you to have the best time, but just don't go overboard, hun. I know it's an exciting time, but just hold off on some of the eagerness. All right? Take a step back before you do something. Think about it a little bit. Don't overthink it, but just think about it and then proceed with your best judgment, right? If you think that you might be someone who is doing the most, please send me a note and let's chat about it. We can talk about whether you think what your current is to stand out and whether or not I think that plan would work, or if you feel like you might have been doing too much and how to kind of tone it back, but also putting yourself out there. So I would love to talk to you. I want to hear your stories. I've seen stories, or I've seen people in the past do the most at their audition, and it's kind of cringe worthy to see if they, if they're asking a bunch of questions, wasting the time of the instructor, or just simply like not being themselves just to be noticed. So it can show, and I want you to do everything in moderation besides the dancing. Don't do that in moderation. You better go full hand. All right. Well, that's all I have today, ladies and gents, and I hope that you are so excited for audition season and that you are taking classes and that you are leveling up in 2025 and you're going after your dreams and you're not finding the motivation, you're just getting up and doing it, and that you develop that audacity mindset that I talked about in the previous episode. So, with that said, thank you so much for listening to the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. We have a lot of great guests coming up that I'm excited about, and I hope that you continue to tune in and listen to their stories and listen to the tips that they give. So, have a great rest of your afternoon, morning, noon, night, whatever it is, whenever you might be listening to this. And just always slay your passion. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to the ImPerfect Cheerleader podcast. Taking the time to listen while you're busy with all of life's responsibilities means the world to me. If you enjoyed this episode, here are a few ways you can support ICP. Number 1, hit the subscribe button so you always get newly released episodes and never miss them. Number 2, take a screenshot of the episode you listened to and tag at the Professional Cheerleader on Instagram. We love to repost your tags and shout you out in our stories. Number 3, write a review. This is the best way to show your support for the podcast and helps us bring on even better guests, interviews, and topics. I hope you have a wonderful day, morning, or night, wherever you may be, and are continuing to work towards your goals of becoming a professional cheerleader, dancer, or just someone who loves to move. I'll see you later on another episode of the ImPerfect Cheerleader podcast. Remember, stay frosty, friends. Toodles for now.